Good morning, everyone in the room and our special guests from the UIF. Welcome to fellow members of the Harmony People Network, for who I started hosting these weekly think tank sessions on the 24th of March, just before the nation went into lockdown. TERS fund-specific questions, practical questions, technicalities and uncertainties have been a key focus of our weekly think tank sessions. And for many members of the community has been the topic of conversation on a daily basis in our WhatsApp groups. We therefore appreciate representatives from the UIF joining us here today. I also want to thank the Minister of Employment and Labour, Minister Thulas Nexi, who responded very quickly via the relevant people at the DEL, who showed interest for participating in these think tank sessions and the session here today. The purpose of this session is to provide opportunity for communication and collaboration between this network, who are people dealing with the front line, dealing with TERS and uFiling applications and payments, and the DEL. A number of people from this community has sent me through their questions and practical situations that they are dealing with that I have forwarded to the UIF, and hopefully we can cover most of those here this morning. So to introduce the representatives from the UIF, I'm going to hand over to Makhosonke Buthelezi, who is the Marketing and Communications Director at the UIF. Thank you.
I'm the Director of Communication and Marketing at UIF. With me here is Sam Mabuza. Sam is responsible for uFiling, is going to field most questions related to uFiling. And next to Sam is Pesima Tebula, who has really helped us so that we can connect. He is responsible for stakeholder relations in my team. And I hope later on we'll be able to be joined by Mr. Alan Ravakalu. Alan is the project manager who is responsible for TERS, and all the TERS related questions, he's the one who is well equipped to attend to them. But I think if we, by way of starting, if we have to start, Liezel, I would I propose that maybe we start with uFiling related questions, since Sam is here, so that he can assist, and then hopefully Alan will be able to join us later, and then we can talk to the technical questions around the TERS portal. Did you need to
I should maybe I just stop muting myself, right? Because I forget. I think there's a lot of people that wish I had a mute and unmute button as easy as that one. Okay, 100%. So we start with the uFiling questions. Did I understand that correctly for now?
Yes.
Okay, 100%. And I don't know if you had an opportunity to look at the questions that I've sent through on Friday, and it's completely understandable if it was too short notice and just before the weekend. Just so that I know, did you receive those questions, or should I just maybe
I've received them, but let's just go over them.
Okay, 100%. So I think first of all, a lot of people didn't realize that if they are doing the UIF through such e-filing, that they also needed to, that wasn't enough, but they also needed to register with uFiling. So a lot of people started doing that when they realized that, you know, there's different UIF numbers on the SARS system and UIF. So there's a few questions there. Some people cannot find their previous declarations on there. Some people are not able to register. If I'm sorry, I'm just looking at the notes, because I want to put all the uFiling questions up there, because some of them might be, you know, related, and you can answer them as bulk. So I'm going through the system. Okay, so some people can't log in and they get error messages on the screen. some people are struggling to capture foreign nationals on the system, and this is a big issue, by the way, which we will also, foreign nationals is something else that we will talk about when we later talk about TERS. Then when registering for uFiling, some get error messages that states we need to contact the call center. Then the call center informs them that they have to submit U19 on their COVID-19 email address, and that they have done that a week ago and nothing has happened since. Then there are some people that's concerned that they are not sure and they haven't got their declarations confirmed. They're not even sure if it is a success or a failure. Some of them say that their previous declarations seem to have disappeared. They don't see that. There are a few people that have noticed that it looks like the system is unstable and it takes time to download, and that they think that might be the reason why there's a synchronization issue. And then, and I think there's a few curious questions also. If people understand how the interface between TERS and the UIF system, uFiling system work, that they would better understand what gets pulled and what could be the cause of the problem, and how do these systems work together, and maybe even, you know, how does the SARS e-filing system work together with the uFiling system. So those are some of the questions with regards to uFiling that we would like to get clarity on.
Okay, thank you, Liezel. We will go through them patiently and one by one so that we are able to help the members to understand them. But I think before Sam comes in, just to clarify, Liezel, that the uFiling and the SARS e-filing are not synchronized, right? They are not working together, uFiling and e-filing. However, I'm going and taking from your point about employers who normally pay via SARS but do not declare to UIF. So in fact, as a way of educating the employers or even the consultants, as with the new act that came into effect in, I think it's Amendment Act of 2016, every month, even those who pay via SARS are required to declare to UIF. And as many employers may have noticed, this has caused a whole lot of problem with the TERS application because everybody now is rushing to declare their employees. And now you find that we're picking a whole lot of problems. Even some of the error messages that we pick up on the uFiling, some of them are very new to us. So which means the system is now, I think, identifying a whole lot of new errors as everybody's rushing to register on uFiling. I'm going to ask Sam to perhaps talk to issues that we have around the system stability. Is there any problem with the system?
Currently, there was, morning, my name is Sam.
Can you see Sam, please?
Yeah, there are some maintenance on the system. Reason being, before we did not have the COVID application on uFiling. So it is one benefit that we recently added on the portal. Individuals now can go and can go to uFiling and find an application for COVID-19 benefit. So COVID, it was new to us and it was new to uFiling as well. Hence, we are having some technical challenges. It's because of that one benefit that we added on the system. But our technical team is looking into it. They are attending to the system instability.
Just to join in, or you wanted to react?
I think I just want to point something out. So that the whole issue, Sam, that you've mentioned now about the change in what employees can do, I wanted us to deal with that separately, because that's a very contentious hotspot question at the moment. And it deserves, you know, a separate conversation about that, because there's some implications that we just want to make the DEL aware of, the impact on employers. So just dealing with the current system, you know, the uFiling system, because it's two different systems, you know, it's the uFiling. And sorry, and just by the way, I don't deal with this on a day-to-day basis at all. So I'm not technically the best person to know what's happening behind the scenes, etc. But the community is dealing with that. But you know, it's two different systems, the uFiling system and the TERS system. And I do understand that the TERS system is new, and it replaces the manual system we had at the beginning of lockdown, which is absolutely, you know, great, and well done for doing that. But yes, and I do understand the uFiling system is kind of the system that's been used before. So without talking about, you know, employees, what employees can do, because that's a separate, I think, conversation we need to have. Just kind of tell us, you know, what is the, is all the issues that's currently existing with uFiling, is that because of the system? Is it because it's overloaded? And what can people do to solve that? Because that is the reason why some of them might be struggling with TERS applications, if I understand.
To answer your question, ma'am, previously or before, the fund would facilitate a new registration using only the UI8 and the UI19. So recently, what we have discovered, that the UI8, the information provided in those UI8 were not as per the CIPC database. So now we've started looking at the we've started with a new process to say all new registration now must be accompanied with a CK document, so that when we update our database, we use the information on the CK document instead of relying only on the UI8, only on the UI8 form. So the problem is, you find that in most cases, why practitioners or employers are unable to add their companies on their profile. It's because of the missing data that was not provided initially on the UI8 when we're registering the companies. So now we will request the employer to send us at least a UI8 again and the CK document, but we will use the information on the CK document to update our database. So one major problem, I would say to you, it is the data that we have and the data that is lying on the CIPC database. So the two data, they don't match.
Yeah, so that has been the biggest problem, especially with people who are registering now, if you try to declare now, because you find that there's Makhosonke CC, and then there's Makhosonke CC Trading as. Now we need to make sure when we put the information on uFiling that it is 100% correct. Hence now we go back to CIPC, draw the registration of the company from the CIPC database so that it matches exactly with what we have. I'll give you an example. There is a school that has almost similar names, and they have I think from the CIPC side, they have the same registration number and they both applied for TERS. We can't process that because now it's two employers with the same registration number. Hence now we need to go back to CIPC and get the exact registration number and the name, so that now when we allocate, we generate our reference number for that company. it is registered under the correct name and under the correct reference number. So these are the things that we are picking up as we go along. And as I said, now you get a lot of queries, you know, about I've applied, I've declared, and I'm not getting feedback on those things. Now, if you go on one application one by one, now you realize that, okay, this is not something that can be sorted now immediately, because we need to go back to the employer, verify, and go back to CIPC. But I think the biggest frustration for the employers and practitioners, it has been a slow pace of giving feedback on things that come to us. I just want Sam to explain in terms of, because some of the practitioners or the employers send correction to uFiling support, asking for unblocking of resetting of passwords. There is I think in my view, from what I've heard from Sam, there is a gap in terms of if the application has been made by a practitioner, right? And the practitioner requests access for the client. There is some activities, something that the clients need to do to enable the practitioner to be able to access, go into the system and be able to assist. So I want them just to explain, because that has also been a sore point. The emails are sent somewhere else and they don't reach the practitioner. You know, how do we resolve that, Sam?
With regards the practitioner wanting to transact or to work on the employer's profile. So the process, you go as a practitioner, you go and add the company on your profile. Once you've successfully added the company on your profile, the system, it sends an email to the CIPC registered email address. So the request will go to the employer. The employer has to grant permission to that practitioner to transact on behalf of the employer. So in most cases, ma'am, the email that is updated on our database, practitioners, they assume that the request will go to the email that is registered with UIF. So the email, it goes to the CIPC registered email address. So employers need to go and check which email address did one use which email address did they use when they were registering the company with CIPC.
And assuming that you know, that email address hasn't changed and they have forgot to update that, because that would have been a problem then.
Yes.
Okay.
And then if the yeah, please go on.
Then I continue.
Now I'm saying if the email address hasn't changed, the employer is still using the same email address, then you have a case where the employer will say, I did not receive the notification after the practitioner has added the profile on his or her account. Those queries, you can forward them to us. We'll then log a call with our ICT help desk to check whether indeed the email or the system did send an email to the CIPC registered email address.
Okay, so what I can what I hear is, first of all, there's a lot of people that's not trying to register with the uFiling system that hasn't been. One, that's issue one, challenge one. The second thing is that there's a manual process. It's not automated. That, you know, a human needs to go and check with the CIPC system. Issue number three is that, and I'm fully aware of companies registering with slightly different names, and I picked it up for BEE reasons. You know, sometimes they use the one name because it's BEE level 1. So I know of that issue. you know, what would have been, I think, better is maybe the SARS system, because I think people keep that more up to date, and that's where they often do their M201 declarations monthly. So the SARS system, I think, is more up to date than the SIP system. Okay, but anyway, so that's the other kind of issue. And then the fourth, and this is maybe just a question for clarification, if people struggle through all of this, who do they contact? Do they contact a call center? Do they contact an email address? You know, that's part of, I think, one of the challenges is that there seem to be a lot of different numbers and email addresses, and not one person that deals with a chunk that can take it from point A to point, you know, Z and resolve it.
There is an email address. It's uFiling support at labour.gov.za. They can forward those inquiries to that email address.
Okay, I'm typing it here. uFiling support.
Yes, at labour.
At Labour. Okay.
.gov.za.
Okay, and this email address is specific for
uFiling related inquiries.
Okay, for any uFiling related inquiries.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm not sure if this is the email address that other people used before. Okay, so this is a lengthy process from what it sounds like, and that's holding them back, people's employers' ability to apply for TERS, which is going to knock-on effect on, you know, the companies giving advances on people's salaries until they wait for payment from TERS, and all of that. That just has a knock-on effect. And the way I hear is there's no other way to then apply for TERS until you've resolved uFiling.
So it varies. The issue varies depending on what is the employer experiencing. If, for example, the employees have not been declared, yes, there's no way you can access TERS until the employees have been declared. That is the first thing. And that also affects your question around foreign nationals, which Sam will address now, in terms of the challenges that we have system-wise, because our system is designed in such a way that it can only recognize the ID numbers. It doesn't recognize the passport numbers. And that is why most foreign nationals, we're struggling to pay them. But we have started, I know that we've paid up to 20,000, but there's more who still have not been paid. And what we, as a workaround, what we have done was to go to SARS, send a file to SARS and say, these are the people that are declared via you. Can you validate them for us so that we can pay? And we were able to match on what we have in our system with what SARS gives us, so those 20,000 that we were able to pay. And SARS is still helping us because ultimately, we have an obligation to pay people who have been applied for. We have to find a way of making sure that they are validated, whether foreign nationals or they are domestic employees. We need to pay them. Ultimately, we know that we have an obligation as the fund. So, but I think I want Sam to talk to the issue of foreign nationals and delve into it. And perhaps he has an update in terms of the solution that we have come up with to be able to validate those claims and be able to pay. Sam.
With regards the foreign nationals, the current bill, uFiling, so an employer can go and declare his or her foreign nationals employees. So we do, the system, it does cater for foreign nationals employees. You as an employer, you can go and declare them if you have foreigners employees in your establishment. With regards the foreign national trying to apply or use the uFiling system, currently the system, it only allows a registered domestic employee to register on the uFiling system. So employees themselves who wanting to file their own application, like your foreign nationals, unfortunately, the system does not cater for foreign national employees to go and apply for any of the benefits on the uFiling system. It's only a registered domestic employer that can access the uFiling system.
Okay, so what I understood from some of the people in this network is that they have, on uFiling, they have had foreign nationals on the system that did pay tax, they're legal, they did pay tax, and they did contribute to UIF. And even those people are not receiving TERS benefits, even though they have been on the uFiling system. So is it because then on the TERS system it doesn't take passport numbers, but a lot of people have, foreign nationals have South African IDs. So is it an issue only if they don't have a South African ID, that's an issue, or and they only have a passport, or what is the situation?
Okay. With foreigners, remember you have foreign nationals that have passports, and then you have those that are using the asylum seeker.
Yes.
Yeah. So those ones, for one to qualify for any of the UIF benefits, a foreign national must have a valid passport number. So I think the problem is with those that are having asylum seeker. But a foreign national with a passport number, the system will take that passport number and register that employee.
Okay,
but
but
if I may come,
sorry?
yeah, I wanted to expand because you asked, is TERS not recognizing the passports? Yes, it doesn't recognize the passport numbers, and that is why we are encouraging, but at least you can register a foreign national via uFiling. So once you've done that, you've declared via uFiling, we are able from the test site to pick up that they have been declared. Then that is why we were even able to pay the 20,000 that I spoke about. Where it confuses me is when you said some of them were declared already on uFiling, yet they can't be picked up from the test side of things. I don't know what could have been the problem there, Sam, if they were declared. Yeah, we may have to investigate because it shouldn't be a problem if they are declared already on uFiling. We should be able to pick them up via TERS.
Because it's definitely, from some of the examples I've received from people, is that it is people that's been declared on uFiling, you know, and for a long time, not just now. And that's the one issue. And they still haven't received payment for any of those foreign nationals. That's issue one. And the other one is, someone said, I'm unable to register any of our foreign nationals on uFiling. So it's an issue of not being able to, some people not being able to register as foreign nationals on uFiling, and it's also an issue, some people who they have been registered for a long time on uFiling, and those are not being paid through TERS.
Okay. I think, ma'am, those that are struggling to register their foreign nationals, we will then intervene as administrators, assist those to navigate, and we direct them as to how to declare those foreign nationals. Unless they are getting an error message, then they need to send us a screenshot of the error so that we further investigate what could be the problem. But we can assist them by take them through the system, guide them as to how to declare those foreign nationals. It shouldn't be a problem to declare foreign nationals.
Or do you perhaps have some of the questions around the error messages that they are getting so that we can troubleshoot and try to assist?
Absolutely. So what do you suggest there? Because there's lots, and I think that the issues, as you will notice from the discussion so far and other discussions that we still need to have, that the issues are all over the place, and it's different for every people.
Yeah.
It's not the same even in an organization. So in an organization, we've got examples where, let's say, an application has been made for, let's say, 190 employees, and then everyone has received TERS benefit except 6, and then you're not sure why. And then it's sometimes not even the TERS, actually the foreign nationals. So there's lots of kind of little gizmos like this.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, on top of that is that having that, and if people reach out to the call center and they get different answers, or, you know, the email box, or sometimes they get automated emails back, and then it's not clear, it looks like just random, you know, email response. So there's a lot of uncertainty there, and I think it also adds to your workload. I can just imagine the more issues there are, I mean, I can kind of imagine that you are completely swamped with all of that. So if there's an easier way that we can resolve this much quicker, that, you know, there's not a ping pong, because any ping pong adds to not just our workload, but to yours.
Yeah.
So what do you suggest in terms of those error messages? Should we, you know, like do this later on and send some specific ones to one central person, maybe to Sam?
I would suggest that maybe, oh, sorry. Yes, I would suggest that let's consolidate these error messages, send them to us, and then Sam and I will sit down and go through them and just sort of make a glossary and explain that this could be the problem and this is how you resolve it. This could be the problem and this is how you resolve it. I think let's just cluster them and consolidate them.
Oh, absolutely awesome. And I think what I like what you're pointing to, here's a suggestion. In the chat box now, if everyone that has this problem around uFiling, error messages, just type now, because I'm going to save this chat box and then I'm going to forward it then to Sam and Makhosonke. Type it now, be very specific. uFiling, what is the issue? What is the error message that you receive for when? Be as specific as possible now in the chat box before we move on to the next point. And then what would be really, really nice if you can do like a frequently asked questions or error message, you know, thing in response that we can send to this community then afterwards that deals with the issues that comes up here. Would that help?
That will help, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I see they are coming up already.
Absolutely awesome, because I'm quite sure we're not going to have time now to address each one of those. So please, members of the community can drop those. And I'm fully aware that we've got, you know, more than 1,000 members out there. Not all of them are dealing with TERS UIF. And some of them will be listening to this recording, but hopefully we'll have all the current challenges here.
Okay.
Okay. Anything I've missed?
Some more? Yeah. Oh yeah. No, you can shoot if you have some more questions on uFiling there on your site. I see from the list that you sent to me there was section number 9C. Can you see it? Companies who submitted EMP 201 with size uFiling wasn't aware that they had to submit uFiling declarations with the DEL. Do you know, are you familiar with this EMP? I think that's when they submit all the details.
I think it could be companies that are currently registered with SARS, but not with UIF.
Yeah. No, I think what we are trying to do, we're going through one of the questions, what I explained before. This question about that companies that submit information to us, they were not aware that they need to declare to us. Yes. It's what we discussed earlier on that, yeah, they have to declare to us every month. But there is an issue that I want Sam to touch on to explain the issue of EDEC. Because there are companies that send us information via EDEC. Is it linked to uFiling? And if you submit EDEC, do you really need to then declare via uFiling? Can you explain to them?
EDEC, those are most your big companies that are declaring via using the payroll system. So they send the file to EDEC, then they will run the file, update, and they will upload the file, then update those declarations. But then employers that are currently using the payroll system to declare their employees, there's no need for them to go and declare on uFiling.
Okay, so let me just understand. So people who use a payroll system to link that with TERS applications do not use to register them uFiling. Did I get it wrong?
No, we're taking something different now.
Yes.
There are employers who normally declare every month and pay to us via a system called EDEC.
Okay, sorry,
EDEC.
EDEC, okay.
What is it in full?
Yeah, it's EDEC.
It's e-declarations, it's EDEC. So huge companies usually declare via that. So we are just, why we're bringing up this point is just to explain that if they have declared via EDEC, they don't really need to go and declare again on uFiling because we already got that information. They send it to us anyway. But it's mostly huge companies who have payroll systems and all that. So, but that is not now linked to TERS. We are just explaining the declarations part of it.
Understand, but we've got a few people here from big, maybe not in this room, but in the community from big companies. So it's still useful to know because this is the first time we've heard about, well, I've heard about EDEC.
Yeah,
about that.
So we wanted to clarify that so that there's no duplication.
So there's all my clients declare via the payroll system, but we still have errors saying not declared. So you can maybe throw your eye over some of the issues in the chat box, because I would love for us to have some kind of resolution. How can we stop the bottleneck at the uFiling system? Because people are now running their May payrolls. A lot of companies or people in this room have started to run their payrolls today for the May applications, where April hasn't been dealt with and a lot of employees are not being paid for April TERS. So how can we kind of go about doing this painfully? Or less painfully than it has been so far to resolve that?
The file, they can send the file to uif.declarations@labour.gov.za.
Okay, so I'm going to type this here. So send error, and it's uFiling error messages. Send uFiling.
Your payroll companies that are using the payroll system, please advise them to send the file to uif.declarations@labour.gov.za.
uif.declarations.
It's outstanding declarations.
Oh, okay.
It's UIF declarations with an S @labour.gov.za.
Okay, I just want to make sure I've got that right. Is it UIF.declarations?
Yes,
Okay, and then after declarations, I missed that before it gets to at labor.
it's uif.declarations@labor.gov.
Okay, I've got that. And the people that don't use the EDEX system with the payroll system?
Yeah, so this email, as you said, there are those who still have outstanding declarations, right? And they are using the payroll system, right? So they must send those undeclared, the file of undeclared employees to that email address. They will have it on the spreadsheet. I think it will indicate if we've paid 5 out of 10 and the other 5, the message is undeclared. So you may have to send that undeclared list to that uif.declarations@labor.gov.za email. And then, so that we are trying to say where we have outstanding declarations, okay, and you are required, now you want to send those declarations, you send to that email address, because then people who are working with that email address would know that these are for declarations and they know what is it that they need to do to update on the system. Because we've got a lot of those undeclared and unresolved employees that we need to pay and close the April payments.
Well, and here's another question. When will you close it? So, by when do we need to solve these issues out that you will actually close it?
We were discussing this okay, this is how I'm going to answer. All the outstanding April claims, we need ideally to close them by end of this week, end of this month. Because remember now, either tomorrow or Wednesday we'll be opening the system for the May claims. So, and in a way, I'm announcing as well that we are testing the system, finalizing it tonight. We may announce to open it tomorrow or Wednesday. But we want to make sure that by end of this week, we have dealt with all the obligations that we have for April. And I know that the main reason why with all these emails that we have, there's been a lack of feedback and all that, it's because of capacity. But when I spoke to Sam's senior manager, she showed me the plan in terms of beefing up the teams that are looking at all these emails, because we are all aware that we need to resolve this outstanding issue by end of April, so that we can be able to have start the May claims very smoothly and run with them very nicely, so that we also are able to close them very nicely. So yeah, and the other issue now, why they are overwhelmed, all these emails that we have, is because as an employer, you send an email to declaration that Sam has just given to you. You wait for a day or two, nothing happens. You say, okay, here's another one, let me try. You end up putting, the same query in all these emails. So there's duplication in all these email addresses, and then they clog up the system. But we understand why employers do that, because we know that we are also under pressure from the employees who are waiting for answers, who are also waiting for their monies. So that we recognize that as UIF, and that is why our head of operation has decided that we need to beef up all these teams that are working on these emails, so that we clear them up, and then we can be able to release the fund and pay all the people that we need to pay for April. So for declaration, that is the email that Sam gave to you.
Okay, so I think, well, just before we continue, I pre-created a poll yesterday that I quickly want us to launch now, just to kind of see that it deals with April. I just want to see, and we only have 60 people of the 100 people registered here. If everyone can just please very quickly answer that question. What is the status of your business's TERS application for April? And only select one, but if you are, a consultant that deals with more than one company, you may select more than one answer. But just take a minute and we're going to share this with the people that's here, just so that we kind of know where we are at the moment with regards to April.
Okay, that will help.
That will help. Yes, absolutely, because we're kind of looking at a few things, people, those things jump out. And it sent me questions. So what I'm seeing at the moment is 84% of the people said not all employees were processed and only partial payment by the UIF. 10-11% said all employees correctly processed and payment by UIF completed. That's for April. So this, I think, very, very important, information to be aware of. That there's 82% of things in April that we still need to sort out this week before people will feel comfortable that it can be closed.
Yeah.
And I think with that, I think it would be great if the department can look at the resourcing of maybe a separate email address even, or call center number, contact person, just to deal with a bottleneck. Because it's not just a bottleneck, because there are technical issues involved. It's like me phoning, I think, SARS, if I've got a problem with VAT. There's call center and it takes me through to the VAT person, and that person takes and helps me until, the issue has been resolved. I'm just wondering whether that wouldn't be helpful, because at the moment, I think people phone one person or email address and they don't get the right answers. And then maybe they phone another person again, and that also creates a bottleneck.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we've ended the poll. I just wanted to check. Okay, so this is helpful to know. And I think you can pretty much find that is the same issue with the other people in the community that's not here in this session.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this helps. It's clear 80% were not processed. Yeah. So this is very helpful to us as a way of feedback, and we can see those that went through are only 9%, which is a very, very, very low number. So it's something that we'll definitely take back and share with our colleagues. And I'm sure they are already aware. And it's because of all these outstanding issues, declarations, bank verifications, and so forth and so on. Because that is another issue, Liezel, the bank verification. It's a huge issue where the banking details are incorrect. And I know that some of the employers would say, okay, so now I've fixed it. I don't know where to send this, or I've sent it to this email and it's quiet now. I don't know what is going on. Nobody's saying anything to me. So those are the things that we assist with within the department, which we need to resolve, by the way, by the end of this week, before we then can fully go on processing the May applications.
Now, absolutely. And I can just imagine if these issues of April is not resolved, it will be exactly the same issue, and maybe even more for the April, because there are a lot of companies who did pay and didn't apply for TERS in May. They gave annual leave, used annual leave or whatever, or they thought that they would make it, not thinking that the lockdown will be extended. So there will be more people, employers that will apply now. And brings us, to the other conversation about that we do need to talk about is the thing about the change in system, who's responsible for applying. Just before we talk about that very important point, what is also important in this poll result, because that's what all of us have seen, is that employees have applied for TERS. Only some of the employees got the funds, and then it's paid to the employer. Now, they look at the stat sheet by the the DEL to say, you know, we've paid out so many employers. Or some of them can even now go online and they can check the employer's name and can see that that employer has been refunded or paid TERS benefit. What they cannot see and what they do not know is the stats that we're seeing here. And that some of the examples I sent to you in that questions, that not all the employees have been allocated TERS benefit, and that breaks down trust. It's a big issue with the employees because, you know, they hear about the media, about employees being scrutinized, that they're taking funds, you know, TERS paid out, UIF paid out, and not employees are being paid, and they think they're one of them. And what they don't realize is the technical issues and payments that we're seeing now. And I think, you know, we're suspecting that's the reason why there was a decision made that employees would need to now from May. And what we're not sure is apply. Is it that they would need to apply, or is it just that they will be paid directly? You know, what is on the table now?
So what is on the table is that network, as you know, it's the partners, it's business, labor, social partners, and government. They said, no, it's better if, due to those things that you mentioned, for the May claims, we need to pay directly to the employees. So which means employers, when they apply, they are still going to be expected to apply for the employees, the employers. And we're going to ask them to provide us with the banking details of the employees, so that then once we receive the application, we process it. And we're going to also, we're changing now, we want to verify the banking details at the entry point of the application, because now we verify at the last point. So we're going to verify at the entry point, so that if there's some mistakes there, we can immediately communicate with the employers. So we're going to do that. Hence, we've issued a statement to say we are preparing the system. It's one of the things that we are busy with, so that it can accept the banking details. And it's not a new thing. Other employers, because if you've seen in the system, you can choose whether you want monies to go directly to the employees or you want it to go into the company. So now that is the decision. We're gonna have to pay directly into the employees. I need to find an answer. I was hoping Alan will be here, but I understand he has to prepare a report for the Director General, because you and I and the members need an answer or clarification on advance payments. Some members, as you rightly say, they say, no, I can't wait for UIF. And remember, the directive said, the last directive, not the 16th of April, said employers can pay in advance and claim from UIF. Now, in this instance, what's going to happen? If you pay in advance and we are saying we're going to pay directly into the employees, now if you have to get the money back, how does that happen? You know, so I need to come back to you. If Alan is not going to join us, I would have to come back to you with an answer, so that you can inform the members of what is it that we are saying. Because one question that came was, would UIF still give us an option as business, as employer, to also pay to us? Is that open? Is there an option like that? And I need to find out if you will be able, there is an option, or we are saying strictly you must pay to the employees. And if you pay to employees and there's a situation where you have paid in advance, how do we work around you getting the money back that you would have paid in advance, as it happened with some of the employees in April? So I would have to come back to you on that. But in terms of who is applying, it is still the employer who has to apply. as it happened in April. And with this one, we'll have them to give us the banking details. What I'm going to do is I'm going to compile some sort of most critical information for the May application and hopefully send them to you and other practitioners so that you know what is key. And yeah, it's sort of a guide of some sort for these May applications, because remember, it's level 4, we're applying for level 4, and some of there are dynamics there. Some of the workers that you would have claimed for in April have gone back to work partially. Some have gone back to work full time. Now we need to provide guidance as to how do we then, is the calculation still the same or has it changed? You're recognizing these various denotations that exist in terms of people going back to work.
No, absolutely. No, and I want us to get to kind of, because that was another question about, you know, what do you put in there in terms of leave and all of that. But just going back to this whole issue about whose responsibility it is to apply, because there's a difference. At one stage, I saw something, I think on Twitter, and it was an infographic about the UIF commissioner where it looked like, it read like, employees can apply for TERS. You know, I'm aware that I think if it was less than 10 employees, where people could, on the TERS application, if it was less employees, choose to, that the TERS benefit get paid to individual employees and not to the company. So I think we kind of need to make sure what is definite and what are you going to come back to us? Is it definite that employees will not apply for TERS by themselves? Only employers will apply. But the payment is something that's going to change now.
Yeah, that is a definite that I can give to you. Employers are still expected to apply for TERS.
Okay.
And there is
and not also employees. It's not an and.
No, it's definitely not an end, because they wouldn't be able to do so
Yes.
They wouldn't be able to do so on their own, simply because, one, they don't have the tools to do so. Two, if there are these technical issues about declarations and what have you, they won't be able to provide us with that information. So that is why the responsibility still lies with the employer to apply. And let me hasten to add that you may be asking yourself, now how do I know as an employer who has been paid and how much has been paid? You would want to know that. We're going to issue the same payment breakdown as we have done in April of all the people that we have applied for. We'll send it to you as an employer so that then you can see who has been paid and how much has been paid. And that will also help you so that you are aware. And when there's an employee who comes and asks, you have something to look at and refer and be able to advise the employee. And how are we going to, how is the employee going to be aware that they've been paid? I think we spoke to the banks. Will also send the SMSs. The banks have said, we will send the SMSs as we normally do with all our payments, so that the employee would know that this is a UIF money. It's coming from UIF and it's for the TERS benefit. And I think what we are, for me, where we've also led was to we need to enhance our communication with the employers, and crisp and very clear communication in terms of the letters that we send, so that they are not open to misinterpretations and all that, which is something that we picked up with the April applications. For example, there was a letter that went out which most employers said it was confusing about the overpayments. Wasn't clear enough what do we mean by that in terms of overpayments and all that. So we've learned from the April process, and as we go into May, we really want to make sure that we fix all those things and we really tighten our communication directly with the employers.
Okay, so we're dealing with two issues. The one is, how do people now resubmit? You know, that, or do they do anything, resubmit for April things, or do they just resolve that? But just coming back to the new ways, if employees are paid, just the practical implications of this, and other people must drop in the chat box there, because I've picked up there are a number of concerns regarding that. The one concern is that people have noticed now how long it will take for TERS to pay out. Some companies are running, some are now even the 23rd, and some of them are running their payrolls today. So they would want to help employees out and pay. If now employees are paid directly, one is now the employees get this payment, and then they pay directly by TERS. So they're sitting with double payment, which will make it extremely difficult for employers to get that money back. One. Two, some of the members of our community have received an overpayment or a double payment in April. Now they are holding, you know, they're ring fencing that money, and that's, sorry, by the way, another question, how do they pay back that money? Okay, because it's unclear, you know, where the banking details and how do they need to do that. That's the one question, separate. But the concern is if that happens to employers receiving a double payment, and we know that it's going to be audited. We've heard that. And, you know, there's the same concern, and it was asked for some, I think, some call center agents. What then happens if the employees get double payment? And, you know, the answer is, well, they're going to be jailed if they don't pay the money back or some things like that, right? You know, so there's that concern, I think, as well. Yeah, so people can come in here. I think I've written down in the notes, there's someone that said, you know, employees to leave, and they've paid that for that, and then they're using TERS that's paid to the employer to replenish that leave. You know, again, just to make sure that the employees get money to feed their families and pay their rent. So, you know, there is that implication, and because we're sitting with this time-sensitive matter that people are running payroll now, they need to actually know now how they should manage their payroll differently.
Yeah, I agree. That is why I'm also will be very comfortable if we have to provide guidance to everyone today, because we are aware that there's a payroll that is running today. So you definitely need to know as an employer, if you're paying in advance, how do you get your money back? And I promise that I will have your answer today. I will send it to you. It's very critical, and it is not only through this webinar I've been asked this question. And it's very important for you guys to know how are you going to get that money back, because once it's in the employee's bank account, it's gonna be war to try to get it back, as it has already happened with some of the employers out there. It's not gonna be an easy one. Now, coming back to the overpayment, there is an account, and I will share this with you in terms of where do you take the money back. But I also need to find out, what is it that I was going to say? Oh, when we were discussing with the team from operations in terms of the overpayment, their suggestion was that before we accept the money back from the employer, we need to ask a few questions. For example, why do you think, how do you came to the conclusion that this is an overpayment? And I will make an example. We said as the UIF, there shouldn't be anyone who's going to get less than 3,500 as an example. Because we want people to at least bring them up to the minimum wage. Okay. Now you find that because when we started with April, remember there was a lockdown, 16 days, and then it was extended to 21 days. And you had employers who applied for the first time the 16 days. And when we started paying, UIF decided, no, we're not gonna, we're gonna look at paying from the 27th till the 31st or 30th of April. We look at the full month, okay, without considering what you have applied for. So now there's two things. As a result of that, there are people, because our calculation were for the full month, we're paying for the full month, there are people now who are going to get more than what you have applied for. And as an employer, because you're looking at 16 days, and this is not what you applied for, now Makhosonke has got more money from UIF. Obviously, that to you is an overpayment. There is another scenario where Makhosonke usually earns 2,000 rands. Now, because we've calculated for the full 35 days, Makhosonke suddenly is going to get 4,000, I think, 200 rands. It's double now the amount. Now, an employer looked at that and say it's an overpayment. Now, what does UIF say, particularly on that issue? Because we said we're going to pay 3,500 rands for minimum wage. And now when we do our calculation, it's more than that. Our view as UIF is, in that instance, where the person was going to get less than 3,500, but because of our calculation, they're going to get double. Our view is that, according to our calculation, is correct. There is nothing wrong with that. Now, why I'm mentioning that is because now, as an employer, you want to bring the money back. Hence, I said, we want to ask a question, why do you think it is an overpayment? And once we understand how you arrived at an overpayment, then even it goes with the underpayment as well. Then we can say, yes, it's a right overpayment, give it back. Or we can then say, no, 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 you made a mistake. It is actually the right calculation from our side. So whatever you have, please proceed and give it to the employee. So to go back to that, there is an account, yes, where you can deposit the money. But I can note this. As per our last discussion internally, our ops people said, I'm not too sure though in terms of the system, where does the questioning and the clarification, at what point does it come? Whether it comes once we receive the money and we go back to the employer and say, okay, you see you've deposited the money, tell us how did you arrive? Or it should happen before you even send the money to us. It's the second thing I need to come back to you about. And another question is, what happened, because you said some of the employers I know have kept the money with them. They haven't sent it back to us. What do you do now when you apply for May? Does the UIF offset it against the overpayment, or you pay it back and then it's a new application? We treat it as such, as a new application with no interference or link with the previous applications in terms of the overpayment. Those are the things I need to clarify and come back to you about today.
Okay, I think that would be helpful to clarify that. And I'm just noting, there's a lot also in the chat box, I think, which you will be able to see. But there's two people that express this concern, is that employees have received an application from the DLL which states exactly how much was paid from TERS for them. This makes it very difficult if employees have taken leave, because they're now demanding full payment, even though the funds should go back to replenish leave. Yeah, I think, because of the timing issue, of payroll and TERS payout, and the uncertainty whether,
Yeah.
the employees, there's this whole issue, and and the specific person and another person said that, they're facing strike action, because of the mistrust about the system, and employees not often knowing, why they have not been paid at all or partial payment. And I'm just wondering whether some employers who think they've received overpayment and they don't know what is allocated to whom are holding it back, not because they're holding it back, but they're trying to figure out, what to pay who. That I'm not sure if that's a reality as well.
It was initially, Liz, when we started paying from the 16th of April, we will give a million rand that you claimed without a payment breakdown. But consequently, we created the payment breakdown, which we send to employers so that they know how to allocate it to various people. So I thought that was resolved in terms of the payment breakdown that was given to employers. And even now, right at the end of the process, you do get at least, it's called, I think I have it here. It's a report of some sort. Yeah, payment breakdown report. It's a payment breakdown report, something that looks like this.
Okay.
So it does indicate, it has a list of who has been paid and who was supposed to be paid and how much. We are able now to see who, in terms of the allocations.
So how do you get that payment breakdown report?
It's automatic. Once you are done applying, and there is on the screen, it says payment breakdown report, successful payment, declined payment. On successful payment, if you click, then you will see a list. It comes up, sorry. It does come up, the list. I will send you the document so you can share with the members, then they can see.
Understand. And I think, listening to and seeing the chat box, there's some common problems. I think there's a desperate need to have a contact. And my feeling is that maybe at this stage call center would be better to deal with one person that resolves that issue from start to finish. But I think the other thing that would be helpful is that if you look at some of the questions that were sent to you on Friday, and maybe some of the new things in the chat box, to have some kind of a process flow map, and maybe even like a frequently asked questions document, and then a list of email addresses, all the relevant email addresses for uFiling, for TERS, for this, for that. And if there's a differentiation to say that if you struggle to register with uFiling, this is the number, this is the email address, this is the problem. So if there's any kind of thing like that, I think a one-pager with all the relevant numbers and call center numbers would be helpful.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. We'll update the frequently asked questions document because I know it's outdated. We'll update it with the new information, the challenges that employers are experiencing, because that will also assist greatly in terms of troubleshooting some of the challenges, and also provide the email addresses, as you have said, to direct each query to the right email address. And also from our side, like I said, I know that Sam's boss talked about briefing up the teams that are looking at this email, so that there is at least some form of feedback on the email that you have said. Somebody acknowledging and somebody telling you, or you should expect a reply by this, so that you don't just sit and wait. We will really try to resolve these matters. I also want to find out, Liz, from the employers, in terms of dealing with the information that as an employer, we need to feed back to the employees. One, in terms of payments, why am I not getting 100%? I'm getting this much. I just want to get a sense of how can we assist in that, because I think there is a gap. Two, why only a few people have been paid and some of us have not been paid? You know, I don't know if it's something that can be addressed by frequently asked questions. I think, yeah, frequently asked questions, so that when the employees ask these questions to you as employers, you are able to explain to them and somehow, yeah, restoring the trust, you know, between the employers and the employees. Because I can imagine the frustration that you as an employer go through when you've sent stuff to UIF, there's nothing coming back, you have pressure from the employees, you don't know what to say to them. Because you end up saying, I'm still waiting for UIF, and we do get queries and employees are saying, I don't trust my boss, I don't think they've applied for it. Because when I ask today, they tell me this, tomorrow they don't give me feedback at all, you know? So I thought maybe we need to assist you as well in terms of, because we are not talking directly to the employees, we talk directly to the employers. So there must be a way of empowering you with information that then you can pass it on to the employees. Yeah, but I think through the frequently asked questions that should assist.
No, absolutely, and I think any suggestion from this group, you know, would be more than welcome to. I think to there, because you know, a part of it, I think someone mentioned that you know you can go, I think, onto the system online, and if you enter details, you can go and check and see, you know, what have been paid. Right? I haven't done it myself. And there was a concern that, you know, everyone can, if they've got your ID number, they can punch it out there and see what your colleague got paid, right? I mean, you know, that's the other challenge. So it's that self-checking, and I've also noticed in the chat box, someone said that the payment they received and the breakdown didn't also line up. So I don't know if you are aware of that, but it is absolutely, it's a major issue, I think, for a lot of people for various reasons, whether it's from the uFiling, whether it's from the TERS application process, or whether it's from the breakdown unknowing or the overpayment. There are different stages in the process, I think, where there's uncertainty, which can be the reason for, you know, not processing TERS, not getting the right payments, not being able to pay employees. And you know, I've said that to so many people. The Department of Health was more prepared because, you know, they've prepared even before COVID for other pandemics, you know, Ebola, for example. So although, you know, nothing would prepare anyone for COVID, you know, very quickly they could go into action, and lockdown helped them to prepare the healthcare system. But what happened is lockdown immediately overnight impacted the Department of Employment and Labour and the people in this community without giving us an opportunity to get our systems right and to figure everything out. And a lot of it we're learning on the go. And yes, we don't have all the systems in place and the documents, whatever. But absolutely, it needs to kind of come quickly. And if we can collaborate to help you and open this channel of communication, let's do that. But absolutely, I think if we can have the information, you know, as quickly as possible, that would be helpful. But I think it's important the resourcing of the department at this time and time. It's not just the healthcare. You know, they're dealing with the health. You guys are dealing with economic impact and people's money. You know, and it's completely this whole, you know, it's our health, but also our source of income.
No, that's true. And to your point about as we fix the sky as it moves, because if you recall, when we started with the system, it was that COVID-19 email address, which was overwhelmed within 5 days. Hence, we went on the online system. And as everybody knows out there, if you launch an IT system, you need to test and test and test and test. So with this one, we only had five days to launch it, and make it work. So yeah, we will definitely, and the fact that now you also have, I saw a question here, you don't have everybody back at work. That also exacerbates the problem, because I mean, you can only be, just this morning, Sam told me in their section, some of them, as I was coming in, they were going out, and I asked, where are you going? And they said, no, we have to keep the 1.3%. We have to be lower than 1.3%. Now you can imagine those who are living, who's going to do with all these things that we have to attend to. Now you operate on a skeleton staff, and yet you have these huge demands, for service. So we find ourselves in that situation. But I believe it is critical. It is most important if we keep the lines of communication, because there's nothing frustrating as you don't know what is happening. Nobody says anything to you. It's better if somebody says, look, it's gonna take 15 days. If it's gonna take 15 days to come back to you, you expect a reply by 15 days. Then nobody saying anything to you. That's very, very, very frustrating. And this is the issue that as the EXO of the UIF have been trying to resolve, that we need to go back to each and every employee in terms of these issues that are still outstanding, so that they are aware of the processes where we are, and if there's anything that we need. If you find that if your issue is lying there and it's a bank verification, if I told you in time, it's something that you can fix within few hours, if not few minutes, and then we process the payment. But if I'm gonna take time to come back to you for such a small thing, it is really a problem. And I guess what I'm saying is those are some of the challenges that we are facing as the UIF, but the head of operation knows about them, and she showed me the plan of how is she going to address all this, particularly on feedback issues, and especially with regards to all these systems where we send things back to employers to fix, they send back, but there's no feedback in terms of the progress. Yeah.
No, absolutely. And I think the other issue is the call center. It appears like different people give different answers as well. So I'm not sure, is the call center outsourced? Is it new people that mans the call center? Are they working remotely? If you can give us an indication.
So the call center is outsourced to a partner. And however, they are given a script. There shouldn't be this problem of giving different information to different people. But I know human nature, that is bound to happen. That is why you need to have a quality check on when the calls are being handled. So yes, it is outsourced. And I'm sure the members would agree that now, I think I've called it twice today, and I didn't hold for a long time. I think now they are responding on time. I guess the challenge now is the quality of information that we give out. And it is one of the areas that Sam's senior manager has indicated that as we update the information, and especially now that we're going into May, we need to empower the call center agents in terms of being able to give information that is accurate, and where it is too technical and they cannot answer, there should be an avenue to direct such a call, to say, okay, for this ma'am or sir, you can just send an email to this, much as it says now, if you want to ask about general UIF queries, press 1, COVID-19, press 2. So I think as part of my responsibilities to ensure that I also, given the feedback that I get from the webinars, I share this information with the manager responsible for the call center to say, this is what employers are worried about. The information that we give out is not the same at the call center, and it is in relation to 1, 2, and 3. Please just make sure when you update the script or you train them, you make sure that these issues are correct. And I think in terms of, if I may share with you, in terms of, again, beefing up the teams, what they said was that now, but I think it's something for a long term, is that instead of all the queries coming to head office, they're going to train our people at provincial offices so that we can divert some of the queries to them. They can be able to assist. I know some of them, in terms of the applications, they can assist if the emails are sent to them. But from where I'm sitting, I'm never sure in terms of the level of knowledge, of the system and any other queries related to COVID-19. But going back to your question, yes, it's outsourced. And I know that we have been gradually increasing the number, the capacity there. So I'm not too sure in terms of the training cycle, how quick do we train the new ones who are coming in, you know, in terms of handling the issues. I'm not quite sure. It's something I would have to find out from the head of operations.
No, absolutely. I think that's much needed, and especially the bottleneck to deal very quickly with the bottleneck from April. And I think for me, for the call center, yes, one part is communication, you know, ask questions. And I think a lot of that we can do away with if the frequently asked questions document is detailed enough so that people do not feel the need to contact the call center. But I think for me, the main purpose of a call center would be that they can actually resolve the issue while you've got them on the line. So, for example, if I had a few years ago, I couldn't get my passport renewal online. And it was, you know, eventually someone that found it after the third call center, and they found out it was because my passport renewal was made while I was overseas. And it wasn't just information, you know, they were able to go onto the system, do something to stop that block so that the process can continue. So I think it would be great if call center agents can also resolve the issues, that it's not just, you know, now do this. And then the person does that, and then it's the next stumbling block.
Yeah.
And this thing just stretches out. There's someone in the chat box, Davi, who's part of our, you know, core group, also that recommended is that they can even maybe log into the client's PC through AnyDesk or TeamViewer to assist with queries. You know, maybe that's also an option. How that can be done. But I think that is going to be crucial, I think, to clear the bottleneck of the April ones. Talked about one, but I don't know if you noticed the chat box. I mean, every now and then I'm throwing my eyes over, then I'm fully realized that there's a lot of issues.
Yes.
One of the. Okay, so what do you recommend for the people that still, as soon as possible, let's say today, can we resolve as many of the issues as possible? You know, what would be the best possible next step?
I think what we need to do from our side is to quickly provide those email addresses for different queries. Number one, we need to quickly come back to you with the issue of overpayments. How do we pay them? Do we pay them direct? Do we pay them into this account that I'm going to provide to you? And what's going to happen once you receive the overpayment, and whether before you send it to us, I receive those emails and somebody from Ops engages the employer to find out why do they think it's an overpayment. I need to come back to you with the answer. And the issue is that I think the most critical one is the issue of advances. You need to have a payment run to do today, and you want to pay. How are you going to get the refund if we are paying directly to the employee? And I think between today and tomorrow, then we will, me and my team will then compile this new list of frequently asked questions so that we can quickly send it through to you and you can share with the members. We will share any other information that we have at our disposal. Things like how to, that error, if we can get the glossary of errors from you quickly, then we can be able to give explanations and send it back. I think we will, if we get it much quicker, we'll send it, but we'll also put it as part of the frequently asked questions. And I don't know if you can do this, Liezel, if you are able to cluster some of the queries for me. If you are able to cluster them for me, obviously there are most common questions related to TERS, most common questions related to uFiling. Cluster them, send the list to me so that will also help me in terms of my updating of the frequently asked questions.
Okay, 100%. I did try and do the clustering on the document that I sent you Friday, but I also
yes.
There is some, things like the uFiling, the TERS one.
I see. Yeah, I see. Yeah, okay. If there's new information, you can just update it for me.
Yes. No, 100%. And I'm just thinking, you and I can maybe talk after the session, but I see benefit, and I'm not sure what other groups you're also having this kind of sessions with. I think you said there's another group of accountants, whatever.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
But if there is a way that we can keep the channel of communication open, and for you to kind of be aware of the issue, what is the issue, so it can be fixed, and hopefully the people don't need to kind of individually grapple with fixing their issue if it can be resolved for everyone.
Yeah.
If that will help, we can check what's possible.
No, definitely. And I want to suggest that maybe we see in a week or so we have another follow-up session, so that then we can check the progress that we've made. Have we answered, resolved some of the things? And especially now that we'll be going into May, I think it will be necessary to touch base again, so that we can have another discussion following the May applications.
Yeah. I think so, but I also kind of fully aware that for the April ones, and being the deadline on Friday that you want to clear April, we do need to have a look at the next steps. And I'm not sure if the community is, know exactly what do they need to do today to make sure they've done everything in their power to do what's necessary to get the April 1 right. And so enough this week. Can you bottom line maybe just for us? So for the people that still have issue, that 80%, which might be the 80% in the community, what are the things that they need to do now?
Okay, I think let me send you an email and tabulate via email what is it that they need to do.
Okay.
Because I also, once I say this is what you need to do, and I must make sure that once you do that, even from our side, we are able to assist. So as you do the things correct, on our side, we need to clear and be ready to assist the employers So I would rather let me, before the end of the day, come back to you and say, okay, this is what needs to happen in terms of, yeah, the outstanding issues.
Okay. Can you, is it possible that we can get 1 or 2 contacts for this community that they can phone directly maybe to resolve their issues? I want to put you in a tight spot, but like a one-stop service, which some of the people in this community, they like the center point for HR payroll that everyone can phone. Is it possible?
You know, I guess it won't have, our one-stop entry point in terms of the lines is the call center.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, giving out individual numbers, it won't help because, I mean, for example, I'm here now. If somebody, I'm giving out my number, they call and, you know, whereas we know the call center is there, they are there for that. But I think in terms of you and I, in terms of the emails, let me or Pacey be the entry point in terms of the emails.
100%, and fully aware that I think we're running out of time. There's a second and last poll that I didn't know if I was going to launch, but I think it's relevant. If we can quickly launch that, the question actually deals, so that we know what's the impact of if we change this thing about money now being paid directly to employees. So the question is, do you provide salary advances to employees while they're waiting to pay out? And we only have 51 people in the room now. But that gives you an idea the extent of the impact if employees are paid directly. Because some of them might, you know, over the weekend today give them salary advancements. So 69% people in this group said that they do give salary advances while waiting TERS payout, which might be useful information for you to have.
Yeah. I want to ask a question. I don't know if you'll be able to answer it. Now, with those who are paying the advances, so, okay, let me start by saying, when you apply for TERS, like I said, we will calculate how much each employee should get using obviously the information that we get from the employer in terms of the salary and what have you. And we will apply our income replacement rates, which is between 38 and 60%. And then indicate that, okay, here's $1 million, then you need to divide it, allocate it according to that report that
Sorry, someone froze.
An advance paid out to the employee, or it will be based on what we have said as the fund. This is what, after we've worked out, this is what we will give you. Do you have an answer there?
Okay, would someone from the community maybe just jump in here and share some light, just from your own, what you realize what a lot of other companies are doing?
Yeah, that will help just for us to understand, because
Yes. Sorry, you're frozen again. Hello? Hello? Can everyone else hear me? Is it just on my side?
Yeah, we can hear you, Liezel. I can hear you.
I can hear you loud and clear.
Where?
Can hear you, no problem.
I can hear you. I can hear you, Liezel.
Fantastic. Where are you going to share some light? Are you going to answer that question about the salary advances?
Yes, I'm typing something now.
Okay, you don't want to voice over it.
Oh yeah, no, it's fine. I can do that. So what we've done is because we are back on duty, but on short time, right? So the employees, so for an example, where is working is supposed to be working 20 days, but because of the short time, she will work 10 days. So the remaining 10 days, we put her on annual leave, right? But when it comes to payroll, we pay her for the 10 days that she actually worked, and then we pay her leave pay for the 10 days, which is the advance. But we make sure that the advance that we give way on the 10 days of annual leave does not exceed the maximum of the 6.7 that the regulation has indicated.
Okay, I think that's thank you, Wewe. That's one example. Does someone else maybe also want to give an example of how they deal with that?
Hi, Liezel, it's Julie. So I've got a client, and what they've done, the staff are not working at all, but they don't want the staff, they can't afford to pay the staff, they've got no income coming in. They are paying the staff 50% to their normal earnings to tide them over as an advance pending a UIF TERS claim.
Okay.
I'm not aware. We lost connection.
I wasn't sure who was freezing.
Yeah.
Okay. So what did you sorry, what did you hear there? There were two people. There was a Wewe and there was a Julie that shared how they're dealing with that. Did you hear?
We had nothing.
Oh, okay.
Nothing. We lost complete. We got disconnected and it reconnected just now.
So welcome back.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to give Julie and Wewe. Do you just want to share again your example, how you deal with that?
Hi, so it's Julie. We've got a client whose staff are not working. The company has no revenue coming in, and they've chosen to, or they're electing to pay staff so that they're not completely out of funds, 50% of normal earnings as an advance against a UIF TERS claim.
Okay. Thank you, Julie and Wewe. I don't know if Wewe is still. Anybody else that want to explain how they're dealing with?
I was
Were
on
you
mute.
muted?
Okay.
I was, yeah. So like I mentioned earlier on, Liezel, what we've done is because we are back at work, but we are on short time. So I'm just going to give a practical example. So if there's 20 days in a month, and we only worked 10 days, and the other 10 days she's on short time. So on the 10 days that she's on short time, we get her to apply for annual leave, right? So what we do then is that at the end of the month, we pay her full salary based on the 10 days that she's worked and the 10 days of annual leave. And then we claim from TERS. But how we calculate it is the 10 days of annual leave that we give Wewe, we calculate up to the maximum of the 6.7 that the UIF is going to pay. So if there is a difference, obviously the difference will be unpaid leave, but if we do get the 6,700, which is the maximum, then we reimburse, we give that way back her leave days, and then we take the 6.7.
Okay.
Yeah, can I come in, Liezel? Good morning, Percy and Makhosonke.
Morning.
You guys looked remarkably fresh for people who we believe don't get much sleep lately. So,
we prepared for you.
stuff. Yeah, just in terms of my clients, the most common was that they would give people paid leave, where paid leave is available. Second, after paid leave, they would allow them to go into the negative with 3 to 5 days of leave, all with the purpose of helping employees to have some cash. Then the third option was that they would then take their pro rata 13th checks. So, I mean, assuming that you earned your 13th check in December, you've already now accumulated another 3 months of your 13th checks, they would do that. And then other, over and above that, people would even get loans. But I mean, it's all recovered proportionately to what the claim is from TERS.
If I could, sorry, also just explain how, sorry, it's Alexa, how we have done it, because we're in the tourism industry. So what we've done is we've paid out based on the calculation that UIF has put out there. So where the salary is capped at 17,700, and we work it out on that way, on the 38% going down to each person's salary scale. So we've advanced that for April. But we have no income for May, and we don't know what we're going to do for May, because if we're going to pay employees or how it's going to work. But that's how we've done it for April so far.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Liezel,
That helps.
yeah, I mean, we've done something similar as well, where we're paying our employees 100% because those specific employees are actually outsourced to a specific client, and obviously because they have been working on the client has actually agreed to only pay us about 75% of the salary. I mean, of our fees basically, which includes those resources. So we're paying our employees 100%, but we're taking the 75% and we're working back based on the calculations how much they would top up in terms of TERS, and then we're actually paying that to make that 100%.
Oh, okay. No, it's clear. It's clear.
So you can kind of see the dance that this community is dancing, right? It's like, you know, it's accounting and pluses and minuses, whatever. This morning on the WhatsApp group, someone shared that we should actually get a specific T-shirt for HR professionals that survived COVID, you know, in 2020. And I do take my hat off for this member of the community and yourself, because...
Liezel, can I hand in?
Yes.
Sorry for interrupting. Can I please hand in a query as well?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We're in the mining industry, and we were given certain licenses for 200 staff to come back to work. Then we got permission that 50% of our workforce may go back to work, and obviously they have to go through medicals, and as the medicals happened, more and more people came back to work. So we originally claimed 27th of March to 30th of April, got a full refund, and now I've got a whole lot of people that staggered dates have come back. We have absolutely been overpaid. We've also got people where funds, their March salary was under declared, so they've been underpaid. So an audit is fine, we've got the audit ready, but we have overpayments that are not related to the minimum 3,500. It's true overpayments where the people went back to work as their medicals were passed. What do I do?
It's possible. That is a definite overpayment. We've had many examples of that, where even after the first lockdown, where an employer claimed for 16 days, and after the first lockdown, some of the employees came back to work, and when we paid for the full 35 days. So we will provide an account to Liz so that she can share with you, because that is a straight overpayment. There's no doubt about that.
Okay.
Thank you. And I think that therefore, hence the risk that some people feel that if employees are paid and there are overpayments, there is how are we going to protect our employees? Because fully aware that people need money at this time to pay houses. Yeah. You know, what is the risk to our employees and how do we protect them?
Yeah, true. Liz, I need to rush to another meeting.
I was thinking that. So I think, you know, I think it was hopeful, given so many technical and whatever practical questions, that we would cover everything, you know, but at least paper is patient. We've got that document. I'll send to you the things that's in the chat box. But just from my side, a huge thank you just for being here. And I think, you know, this is the time where we are together, you know, in this as a community, and use the Department of Labour and the Unemployment Insurance Fund. So thank you for jumping so quickly in here that we can make this happen.
Yeah,
also in the room, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity, and we must work together to make sure that we really look after our employees. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. We've got a shared interest there. That is our focus. Absolutely. Thank you, Sam, as well.
All right. Cheers.
Thank you. Bye-bye.